Bette fixed her hair in front of the mirror and, with her most charming smile, headed for the actor Franchot Tun, her partner in the movie Dangerous. Why shouldn't she flirt with her rival's fiancé? Oh, hold on, Joan Crawford's drag cat, Bette Davis, is about to give you a kick in the ass. Needless to say, Bette succeeded in seducing handsome Franchot and fell in love. Joan Crawford never forgave her this and took even harsher revenge. She soon married Tun, and Bette received for this movie Oscar. It is said that it was this incident that started the famous feud between the actresses. Yes, the two stars in Hollywood was tight. Sharp on the tongue, Bette Davis surpassed Crawford on the part of backbiting. Once Davis remarked, "Why do I so often have to play bitches? Because I'm not a bitch." Maybe that's why Joan Crawford is so convincing as a lady. Joan's response was not long in coming. She went over her friend's appearance. Poor Bette. She looks as if she's never had a happy day or a happy night in her life. If Crawford was considered a classic beauty, the appearance of Bette was on the amateur. Heavy eyelids, sharp chin, eye saucer, but the character, plasticity, and temperament. Just hold on. Young actresses were afraid of her. Seals one phrase, so Seals? Some young Hollywood stars remind me of the old farmhouse of my grandmother, all beautifully painted in front, a big swing behind, and nothing in the attic, said Bette Davis about starlets. What can I say? Marilyn Monroe herself at the sight of Bette's legs shook. Bette Davis. By the way, her real name is Ruth Elizabeth Davis. She was born April 5, 1908 in Lowell, Massachusetts, in the family of lawyer Harlow Morrell and housewife Ruth Davis. By the age of 5, the girl announced to her father, mother, and sister Barbara, "My name is Bette. I won't respond to any other names. And no Lizzie, Betsy, remember?" When Bette was 7 years old, her parents divorced and she and her mother and sister moved to New York City after years of wandering the cities. During summer vacations, the Davis sisters worked as waitresses and sold movie tickets. Somewhere around 12 years, Bette first appeared in the theater and began to dream of the stage. Eva Legalian, owner of a famous theater school in New York, agreed to see what the girl can do. After a few assignments, Eva shook her head reproachfully and said to Ruth Davis, "Mrs. Davis, I have to say, your daughter will never be an actress. I would advise your girl to learn some profession necessary in these times, like typing." Bette almost cried, and her mother shook her. "You've got to fight and keep your head up." Fortunately, young Miss Davis agreed to take a look at young John Anderson and accepted her into his theater school. There was something about the skinny, scruffy girl with huge eyes that made Mr. Anderson believe in her. One gesture, Bette could express her feelings, which in itself was amazing. And then it was just like in movies. Yesterday's graduate of Anderson's school played in the play Broadway, directed by George Cukor, a small role, but slowly learning the monologues of the main character. Prima suddenly felt ill one day and Bette successfully replaced her. After the performance, the director called Miss Davis to celebrate the event in a restaurant, and she refused. A week later, Bette was fired from the theater and went to conquer Hollywood. She did not despair, as if she knew the day will come when she herself will decide where to play and with whom. Producer Samuel Goldwyn looked at the photo of Bette Davis and snickered. Will the audience pay for a ticket and face on the screen this inarticulate girl with black eyes and a poorly fitting suit? I don't think so. How wrong he was. A few years later, he would take it back and apologize to Bette. Universal Studios cast Bette Davis in several movies that were not successful. Moreover, the production chief, Carl Laemmle Jr., mockingly pronounced that Bette had about as much sex appeal as Slim Somerville, a comedic actor known for his unattractive looks. But Bette Davis fought desperately for her place in the sun and persevered in her search for love. At the age of 24, she married her classmate Harmon Oscar Nelson, a jazz musician. At the same time, she smiled at Block, the main female role in the film The Man Who Played God. Film company Warner Brothers signed a contract with the actress and appointed a salary 10 times the earnings of her young husband, who played jazz in clubs. It is said that when Bette received her first American Academy Award and called the statuette Oscar to annoy her spouse by saying, "The look of the statuette on the back reminds me a lot of you, my darling." A few years later, Bette and Nelson's marriage broke up. The husband could not withstand the success of the wife and her infidelity. Bette twisted romance with Howard Hughes. Davis worked like clockwork: early rise, a trip to the studio, makeup, rehearsals, shooting, then home to drop dead in bed and start tomorrow morning all over again. Starting with small roles, over time Bette became the highest-paid actress in America, the First Lady of American cinema. She created vivid images of strong and powerful women. Many actresses were afraid to play unsympathetic characters and refused roles. And Davis was not afraid to be ugly, even repulsive, and saw it as an opportunity to demonstrate the range of their acting abilities. For the role of Queen Elizabeth, Bette shaved her eyebrows and trimmed bald. For a successful role, she was ready to sacrifice even her personal happiness. Hot time went on, and happiness was not. After Bette played a beautiful Southern girl Julie Marsden in the film Jezebel, then there were rumors that in Gone with the Wind, she will get the role of Scarlett, but she preferred unknown Vivian Leigh. In 1940, Bette had an affair with actor George Brent, a colleague in the movie The Great Lie. Brent proposed marriage and she refused. Bette met Arthur Farnsworth, manager of a chain of small hotels, and fell in love. With Farnsworth, they married in December 1940. The second marriage of the actress at first seemed ideal, but Arthur turned out to be a drunken alcoholic. Bette, also imperceptibly addicted to whiskey, and scandals shook their home. That second marriage ended abruptly. Her husband, too much alcohol, fell down the stairs at home, and 2 weeks later fell unconscious on a city sidewalk in the presence of Bette. Doctors diagnosed him with a traumatic cerebral hemorrhage. 2 days later, he died without regaining consciousness. It cost Bette a lot of effort and money to come out of this story clean. Many suspected her of involvement in the death of her husband. Warner's Brothers studio head Jack Warner used his influence to quickly settle the investigation. 2 years later, in 1945, Davis married artist William Grant Sherry. This marriage produced Bette's only child, daughter Barbara. Davis became a mother for the first time at age 39 and considered ending her career. At that time at the Dream Factory, Darryl Zanuck read the excellent script All About Eve and decided that only Bette Davis is able to play Margot Channing, a sarcastic, intelligent, brilliant diva who is the victim of intrigue. But how to offer this stroppy actress, who was called the first witch of Hollywood, role? She will ruin everything, forced to rewrite the script, drink all the blood, send far and long everyone and himself. To his surprise, Davis read the script, called it the best in her life, and agreed to the role. Darryl Zanuck prepared himself and director Joe Mankiewicz to the worst, but a miracle happened. The actress, holding in fear half of Hollywood, as if substituted. On the set, she was herself collected and embodied gentleness. The reason was banal. Bette simply fell in love with his partner, a novice actor, Gary Merrill, yes, as she herself had never dreamed. In 1950, Bette played a great Broadway star in the movie All About Eve, which brought her another nomination for Oscar and the Cannes Film Festival Award for Best Actress. Meanwhile, Bette divorced William Sherry and married Gary Merrill, who was 7 years younger than her. Divorce Davis with Sherry was scandalous. It turns out that her husband was in a loving relationship with a young nanny of their daughter, red-haired 20-year-old Marion Richardson. After marriage with his beloved, Bette dreamed that she and Gary had many children, but could not get pregnant a second time. Gary adopted Barbara and treated her as his own. In January 1951, Davis and Merrill adopted a 5-day-old baby girl they named Margot. In 1952, they adopted a baby boy named Michael. The family settled into a large house in Malibu. Bette supervised her children's every move and surrounded them with so much care that they suffocated. Daughter Margot was found to have a severe congenital brain lesion, and the girl was placed in a specialized treatment facility at the age of 3. Bette's character deteriorated with each passing year. She was jealous of Gary's colleagues and made his life completely unbearable. Gary Merrill more and more often thought that he loved a completely different Bette Davis, sparkling, dazzling, defiantly different from all others, stroppy and eccentric movie star, and not at all this aged, untidy, and sloppily dressed woman, busy with household chores and raising children. Once in his heart he exclaimed, "You're a great actress, Bette Davis, and I thought I had become just Mrs. Merrill." Love dripped out of their marriage, and after 10 years there was nothing left of it. In 1960, they divorced. Davis will say of it simply and sorrowfully, "Gary broke my heart. He killed the dream forever. That little woman no longer exists." Ahead of Bette awaited another 20 years of life, which included the death of her mother and the betrayal of her own daughter Barbara, and terminal illness, breast cancer, and boundless loneliness. When in 1977, her worst enemy Joan Crawford left her life, Bette Davis found nothing better than to declare, "On the dead it is customary to speak only well. Joan Crawford is dead. That's good." Davis outlived her rival by 12 years. After her death, Bette Davis left a fortune estimated between $600,000 and $1 million. The first half of this amount went to her adopted son Michael Merrill, and the second, her secretary and companion Catherine Cermak. Her daughter Barbara did not receive a penny because of a scandalous book about life with her mother, which greatly offended the actress. Barbara, savoring, described all their scandals, quarrels, fights, not shy to tell how her mother staged suicide attempts to keep Gary Merrill as lying at his feet and begged him not to leave. All her life, Bette Davis provided for her mother 3 children and 4 husbands. Davis died in her 82nd year on October 6, 1989. Friends, thank you for watching. Support the channel by subscribing, liking, or commenting. And see you in new exciting videos.